exciting. I rarely get human medical doctors on Dog Talk and Kitties too. You guys are doing amazing things. It used to be that the veterinary researchers were finding out things through studying pigs and dogs about all kinds of human medical things. Now we have Dr. Mark Mamula at Yale School of Medicine, professor of medicine, who's created a novel cancer vaccine for dogs. Dr. Mamula, this is to me should be a headline in the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the London Times. A vaccine for cancer? Surely that's a first.
It's actually a vaccine may not accurately describe what we are. We're a therapy. So it's a therapeutic immunization,
Okay.
as it were. Immune therapies have changed the landscape of human cancer care, of course. You don't have to look very far to realize that your evening news or almost any evening program will have advertisements for drugs that are immunotherapies in treating human cancers. Ask your doctor about nivolumab.
Right.
So you can ask me about our EGFR HER2 therapeutic immunotherapy. So it's wondering whether it could ultimately be a healthy dog vaccine is a big question that people ask, but
I see.
we may get to that later. But at the moment, we treat our pets, our family pets, with a therapeutic vaccine, as it were, and that's simply put. And by way of introduction, and I always love to describe it this way because I think a lot of people don't realize the breadth and the depth of cancers in our dogs. There are upwards of 90 million dogs in this country.
Correct.
90 million. There are more dogs than kids under the age of 18.
Wow, that's a number that's rarely quoted in the pet industry.
Exactly.
Oh,
So I had to actually give a lecture to the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture. They ultimately will be hopefully providing licensing for our therapy. I had to remind them that also there are not only more dogs than kids, but there are more dogs than pigs in this country. There are more dogs than cows in this country.
wow.
Why is that
Is
important
that,
to the
that
USDA?
is that because we're busy eating the pigs and the cows? As soon as they get born, we eat them.
I mean, that I can't go any farther than that, really. It could be, certainly, is that, yeah. But it was particularly relevant that I was talking to the USDA because, as you may or your audience may know, the USDA controls how biologics go into every animal in this country, whether it's cows and pigs for our food supplies or chickens or anything else. They manage all of those things in addition to managing the biologics and the therapeutics that get developed for veterinary medicine for treating dogs and cats. So it's
And
not the FDA, it's the USDA.
that's interesting. And it does seem very different. When you're doing this work at Yale, which is a lifetime of work, when you first, so this vaccine is for dogs who already have contracted cancer. And this
That's
is
correct.
to stop it in its tracks, slow it down. Is that its goal?
That is perfectly put. And that's what I remind our patient population is our goal is to, and this is just like the goals of treating human cancers, of course, as well, is to either slow the growth of cancer, to stop the growth of cancer, or at best, eliminate tumors or eliminate cancers. We have evidence and have seen all of those three things happening with our own therapy. But yes, perfectly put, Tracy.
That's beyond exciting because those of us who have, let's just say, large breed male dogs, for example, particularly golden retrievers, and in the Yale News article that I read about you in, that a veterinary friend sent me and said, wow, is this exciting? And I was like, why am I the first person to be talking about this to people who have pets? All of you with male golden retrievers, particularly the larger ones, know that you have the highest incidence of cancer in dogs in the world. Rottweilers are a close second, maybe some German Shepherds, and it's bone cancer. And there's mostly bone cancer. Of course, there's others than osteosarcoma. But a marvelous person highlighted in this article was a woman you helped who had a search and rescue dog who's now a tripod because amputation is the only effective cure right now for osteosarcoma in dogs. And he's still gone back to working, which is pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, this was a really interesting and at least to me a heartwarming
Yeah.
story, which I'll just give you a few highlights. I was contacted by a student here at Yale University, undergraduate student. As it turns out, he was the oldest Yale undergraduate student here on campus at the time.
I'll be darned.
He, and the reason he was the oldest was did several tours of duty in the military, in the service. In fact, he was a Navy SEAL.
Wow.
And a friend and colleague of his, let me backtrack just a little bit. While he was a SEAL team member, he had a companion dog that was in combat with him.
Wow.
His combat dog was killed in the line of duty. And he came back and he started a foundation that is designed to help service animals.
Nice.
A friend and a colleague of his trains service animals. This particular dog that you're speaking about is a golden retriever who was trained to find people in catastrophic building collapses.
Yes.
And it's amazing what these trainers can do with dogs, not only finding people buried under rubble, but they can find literally people buried, or I'm sorry, submerged in water,
Right.
all sorts of other just remarkable training conditions for dogs. Anyway, this dog had an osteosarcoma and amputation of one of the front limbs, and it had started to spread to the lungs, which is, of course, the major cause of morbidity and mortality in dog bone cancer. And he asked if she could get enrolled in our clinical trial program. Indeed, we did enroll her dog more specifically. And fortunately, her dog continues to do very well and did
It's
very
fantastic.
well. Because of that experience, a little bit of more background is we started a company called Theragen. Your listeners can look up some
I've heard
information
of it.
about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's THERAJ as in janitor AN.com. It will talk about our therapy. But the important thing that I learned was how remarkable our service animals in this country can be. And those can be fire rescue dogs, they can be police dogs, military dogs. We as a company, Theragen, have pledged to provide our therapy to any service animal in this country at no charge.
Nice.
And
That's
that's for as long
fantastic.
as I'm managing any of this.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. One of the elements, just as a sidebar that might interest you, New Haven's not that far from New York City. I would love you to be my guest at the 10th annual New York Dog Film Festival because last year there was a service dog salute portion of the festival that Purina Dog Chow that has been contributing to service dog veterans with PTSD specifically, service dog organizations for many years. And we have two more winners this year. And to see these dogs at work with veterans who have done their service and now are unable to cope with civilian life and the dogs bring them back to life, it's really moving. It goes so far beyond the human canine bond that we all get warm and fuzzy about, but it's profound. So the fact that you as a company are able to offer this to these dogs, many of which are German Shepherds and Malinois, which also the large males, particularly, I do put this word in, and I have no idea if this will ever come into your research. The neutered ones are the ones at risk. not neutering a dog protects them, for what we know so far, against cancer as they age. But the fact is that the vast majority of dogs are neutered, sometimes out of habit, sometimes out of ignorance, sometimes out of some other necessity. But these dogs are all hugely at risk. So what you've developed, people, when they get this cancer diagnosis with their dogs, they're told, we can do chemo, maybe we can just do steroids, and we're going to get you maybe 3 to 6 months of a good quality of life. And then you're going to be prepared to say goodbye to your dog. What you've developed with this vaccine is a chance to not say goodbye to your dog prematurely, even if the dog has to lose a limb, since long bone cancer tends to be the most common place that the dogs get the cancer. It's an incredible thing to give the dogs and people. And was this work that you originally intended for human use and then it morphed into dog use?
Most interesting things that happen, many interesting things at least, that happen in life are serendipity.
Yes. Yes.
We, like many other cancer research people, often start in studies in mouse models of human
Right.
cancers. And we had done that as well with this therapy in particular. And as a backdrop to this, I can tell you I came into this field honestly. I had a yellow Labrador retriever that passed away from a hemangiosarcoma, which is a very aggressive
Oh,
canine cancer. And this was about 14 years ago now. Shortly after, after we had done our mouse cancer studies, I had gone with my wife to, a party on a weekend here in Connecticut. The host had cancer, as did his dog,
wow.
cancer at the same time. The host did fine. He's still in remission. Unfortunately, the dog passed away from its cancer. But honestly, after a few glasses of wine, and I had met the dog's veterinary oncologist,
Oh, interesting.
I,
You remember the doctor's name?
yes, Jerry Post.
Oh, Jerry Post is so famous. Jerry Post
Yes,
is the Connecticut, New England oncologist. Many people studied under him. He's brilliant.
Jerry is a remarkable guy. I cornered Jerry in the corner of this house and I said, Jerry, I said, we've got this therapy. It looks very promising. Can we begin to treat some of your patients? He said, absolutely.
Nice.
So Jerry was the single source of our early clinical trials for almost 2 years, where we got very important pilot data and how to tweak what we were doing and manage patient populations and better understand how to use this therapy.
Mm.
Dr. Post continues to be a good friend. He no longer lives in Connecticut. He lives in California, but he also was a co-founder of a company called PhytoCure, which you may have heard of. It,
Yes.
it's a company that analyzes genetics and genetic mutations from dog cancers and provides suggestions based on those genetics for various chemotherapies and other treatments. So it's a manner that approaches what we now know in human cancer care as individualized patient therapy. It takes features of the dog's own cancer, its own mutations, which differ from dog to dog, differ from human to human, and suggests the best potential therapies, chemotherapies, based on that mutation analysis.
So when you have this level of success or responsiveness from the dogs, uh, is the future success both financial, because that has to be considered, as well as professional? Is the success measured by how quickly or how well it can bridge into human medicine?
For me, no. Again, I was a family of a dog with cancer that passed away.
Right, 14 years
I,
ago, and I see it still shows
no,
you up. I can see that.
it completely does. I could get teary thinking about that
I
right
felt that.
here.
Yes.
But more importantly, I know what all of our family patients go through. I do. I had to face that myself. I realized that the tools that veterinary oncologists have were just not as thorough. The toolbox was pretty empty when it comes to treating many dog cancers. And being a dog lover, I still have two golden retrievers.
Oh, you're a
Yes.
brave man to have Goldens. They have a target on their back, bless their hearts.
Oh my gosh, somebody's got to give them some love. I'm one of them, right?
And they sure know how to give it back. But they
Yes.
are blunt instruments, what veterinary oncologists have. Sue Ettinger, who did a show with me that's still on my network called The Pet Cancer Vet, she got too busy giving talks all over the world to continue doing the show. But in that, and if anybody's interested, I mean, listen to some of the old episodes, and it will tell you very specifically about each of the kinds of canine cancer that Dr. Mamula has mentioned. And the tools they had were crude and scattershot, if you will. So let's try a lot of fill in the blanks and hope that it slows the tide. And what you've got seems like it could put the brakes on.
The toolbox is filling up. It's getting better. I will say there are several potential therapies on the horizon that in many ways resemble how we treat human cancers. And indeed, our own approaches have been tried in treating human cancers. You bring up many good points, though. Among them are that dogs are, it's really inaccurate to say that dog cancers are a model for human cancers. They are a parallel disease.
Interesting. Yes.
Dogs get all of the same tumor markers that humans do. The mutations are virtually identical. The signaling pathways, the types of metastases, where the morbidity and mortality is very similar. For example, when we were talking about osteosarcoma
Mhm.
earlier, dogs, as you mentioned, have a high rate, a high frequency of bone cancer, osteosarcoma. And the biggest cause of death and morbidity in that cancer is metastasis to the lung. And after that happens, it's typically very difficult to treat a dog once mets have gone to the lung. The
Mhm.
same is true in human cancers.
Yes.
About 75% of humans with osteosarcoma have generally a survival of 5 years. 75% will survive 5 years. If they get metastases to the lung, that survival rate drops to about 25% in humans.
Wow.
So in dogs, the exact same features are true. Dogs get osteosarcoma a bit more aggressively than humans. Only about 30-35%, maybe 40% of dogs with this cancer will survive 12 months. If metastasis happens to the lung, mortality goes up very quickly.
So let's talk about this extraordinary golden retriever search and rescue dog and his handler. How long has he been going on with three legs and what seems like from the video a very happy life?
Yes, the dog's name is Hunter. And
Hunter, yes.
Hunter is now, I think, 3+ years as a survivor
I
of
wanted you to be the one to say it. Amazing number. I mean, it's really way outside. It's not random. It's not coincidental. It's directly a result of this vaccine that you have. It's incredible. Anybody out there, when I was doing the show with Sue Ettinger, she had her replacement black lab. Her early one had died of cancer, young-ish, a dozen years old, and she had just had this one. It's a female, spayed at 6 months because she wasn't aware, even being an oncologist and a very knowledgeable one, that this link between early spay neuter, which early still means 6 months old, was linked to cancer. So now she had done the spay without knowing it, and now she lives as an oncologist with this knowledge. When you had your got your Goldens, you got them as puppies?
Yes, I did.
And did you spay or neuter them?
The we have a almost 13-year-old golden retriever. He was neutered. We have a 5-year cream-colored golden retriever. He is intact.
Yes, we're intact male dogs. I live with a Vizsla who's intact. He's just a little over a year old. And I'm like, I have a feeling he'd be just this full of energy if he didn't have his testicles. But I am so grateful to look at him every day and go, I don't have to look at you on your deathbed when you're 10 or 11. Maybe I do. Maybe you get something else. I doubt it. But it's just, it's really important that people hear this, that people in the field of medicine, of cancer medicine, are not even always fully aware of information that's been out there for more than a decade, but it has not been disseminated freely. So I think it's important as part of saying this is an incredible drug, and I don't wish cancer on anyone, but if you're sitting in a dog training class, look on either side of you. If anyone has particularly a large breed male dog, one of the dogs on either side of you is going to get cancer. And you may not catch it early. And as Dr. Mamula just said, if it metastasizes, except for with your vaccine and Hunter's great, amazing luck, it's curtains. So it's
Well,
amazing that you've done this. It's just so important that every clinic vet should know this exists, because if a dog presents with lameness and the owner quickly says, let's take an x-ray or do blood tests or ultrasound, whatever work they want done, and it comes back as, uh-oh, there's something you can do. Now, am I wrong? Is it not available to the general public yet?
we're in the clinical trial stage. We are at 12 sites around the country. We are not yet in everybody's neighborhood, but how does one find our clinical trials?
Right.
At the moment, our clinical trials are generally open to dogs with osteosarcoma, bone cancer,
Yep.
hemangiosarcoma, typically in the spleen, a very aggressive splenic cancer, and transitional cell carcinoma, which is bladder cancer. We hope to get conditional licensing from the USDA in the coming months. I can't tell when exactly that will happen. We are completing our clinical trials and submitting data to the USDA. Speaking of osteosarcoma, which is in part a theme of today's talk, and Hunter, our 3-year
Yeah.
survivor, and we have a number of dogs with osteosarcoma that have survived 3 to 5 years now.
Totally amazing.
And that it is, yes, it's amazing, in part because 3 to 5 years in a dog is sometimes 30 to 50% of their lifetime.
Right. Absolutely.
So thinking about human cancers, of course, if someone were to tell you or me we'll have another 3 years of life, oh gosh, with the projected lifetime of 70 or 80 years, that's not much, but 3 years to a dog is a huge
Huge.
amount of their lifetime.
And to the dog's people. I mean,
And to the dog's people, of
I
course.
lost my Yogi Bear, my absolutely most delicious, kind, and loving Rottweiler that was discarded in a box on the side of the road. He was just about 8 weeks old. And I neutered him at 6 months because that at the time was the current thinking. And he got long bone cancer in his front limb. And because he had no hip sockets, which is why he'd been thrown away in a cardboard box, he couldn't be a tripod. So to put a dog to sleep at age 5 or 6 who's still in the prime of his life, it's devastating. You give
Yes.
them a new toy the night before, and then you take them to be put to sleep because they are in too much pain to go on walks in the woods. What you've done is amazing. We've run out of time. I'm just so excited for everybody who is going to have a chance to participate in these clinical trials. Maybe off the air, you can tell me if there's anything we can all write into the USDA. Have a some sort of a petition. Please say yes. Let us have this miracle drug. I salute the work you're doing. I'm so thrilled for all the people who are in your clinical trials because they're advancing your work for the rest of us. And to all the dogs out there, stay strong.
Thank you very much for having me today.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you again and congratulations.